Call to order the Board of Supervisors meeting for Tuesday, April 16th, normally scheduled for 7 p.m., now at 8:08 p.m. Roll call to establish a quorum, Amy?
Supervisor John Stavenus.
Here.
Supervisor Linda Waite. Here. Chairman Dan Wolfel.
Here.
Supervisor Jim Nellen.
Here.
And Supervisor Tony Haynes is excused.
Excused. Okay, we're going to pass on the meet and greet. We think we know each other too well. Public participation, is there any that anyone has? I'm sorry, Chuck?
Over the last year here now, we've lost two prominent citizens, servants of our town. And I think it would be a good gesture of the board to do something in their honor. My suggestion would be that we name the Institute Park here Tony P. Hayne Memorial Park. And possibly either the other park out on Clark Lake for Leo Zipper, or maybe the pavilion or one of the ball fields in the park in his honor.
Okay, I think that's a good suggestion. I think, go ahead. You want to say something?
I just wanted to build on what Chuck was saying. When I read his obituary, they talked about three of his favorite sayings. And one of them, I thought if somehow this could be incorporated into it, was, "It's a beautiful day in my little corner of the world in the town of Sevastopol, Tony P. Hayne." And just something to consider as you discuss what you're going to do. I can see that being painted on the side of the concession stand. It's such an uplifting saying, and I think it would be very important to him and his family.
I agree. I think it might be very appropriate for us to do that. I think what I would do is put it on a future agenda for discussion. I think we have multiple locations or opportunities to maybe do something and maybe just try and come out with a logical way to address it for both Leo and Tony. And so I thank you for that suggestion, and I will put it on our next meeting agenda and have the board's thoughts on what to do. Okay? Yes, you have a question?
No, I'm not gonna waste my time.
Okay.
I just want to say one quick thing, if you don't mind.
Yes.
Well, obviously, just my own personal, I want to say thank you to everybody. Linda, for example, this was my first time running. I mean, it was interesting, to say the least. I was a little scared to begin with and stuff like that. When it came to, I know we tried to do that meet and greet thing with the League of Women Voters. Unfortunately, due to the weather, both the snow day and everything got canceled. Linda was one of the individuals besides me that tried to get it rescheduled or to do something just to kind of, like I said, just get out there and, meet the people and stuff like that. Obviously, Tony, unfortunately, I did say thank you to Tony multiple times, especially when he, contacted me, both the day after the primaries and the night of the election. One thing I do want to say that really, when it comes to Tony, just by him reaching out to people, especially people he, we're running against them and stuff like that, working with them and talking and giving them support. Really, it just shows the type of person Tony really was. And, I've known Tony pretty much most of my life. I went to school with Mark, and, he was a great guy. And it just, I enjoyed the encouragement from him. And, the one last time that I got to talk to him, I didn't know really how bad he was the night of the election, how sick he really was getting. So, but I just thought that took a lot of character in his part to take the time, from his hospital bed to make the phone calls. And I just, with the way, you know, the federal elections are, state, and even Sturgeon Bay election, on how kind of mudslinging it was, and, you know, just like, in general, just like a negative election. I will say that our election, no matter what the outcome was, I thought it was actually a pretty good election. I mean, it was a decent election. There was very little, if not any, negativity towards any of the candidates. And I want to thank all the candidates for that. It was just awesome, and that's pretty much what I wanted to say. I mean, I appreciate everybody that was involved.
Okay, thank you. All right. All right, let's move on. We have to adopt the agenda, assuming it was properly noticed.
The agenda was properly noticed.
And we need a motion to approve the agenda.
I move the adoption of the agenda.
Second.
Motion by Jim, second by Linda. All in favor?
Aye.
Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes, thank you. Approval of minutes, Board of Supervisors meeting from February 18th.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes for February 18th, 2019.
Second by,
I second.
motion by John, second by Jim to approve the
Okay.
Board of Supervisors meetings for February 18th. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, pending business. Pending business, pavement rating. You should have in your packet a quote that I received from Ayers Associates, which I sent out to all of you, detailing basically what I thought was good news, a less expensive alternative than the initial ones that they proposed, where they would go out, their engineer would go out and drive all of our roads and then complete the Whistler Phaser rating system. And as you can see from what he said, divide each road into segments, provide a spreadsheet that shows previous ratings, current ratings, so that we can go through our own process, present a short one-page memorandum at the town meeting designed to improve the accuracy of future road rating by the town. And I went back to Tony this week and I said, if I wanted to go one step further, which would be to have him come back to us and lay out crack filling, a prioritization schedule of crack filling, seal coating, redo, milling, and or, what's the word I want? 1.25" overlay. They would also look to do that, and that would run around probably $1,000 to $1,500. And that would help us do a more comprehensive plan for 5 years out. That can be done after the fact, or we can go with one or two parts of the recommendation, or the estimate, I should say. And you have all of that. So, what would you like to do?
Discussion?
Yes, that would be,
Okay,
okay.
okay. I think when Mr. Deppies was here a couple months ago, I had asked for references,
Mhm.
and he had said they were fairly new at it. I called again last week, and I did get one reference from the city of Waukesha. I spoke with their engineer. They have, he didn't give me the number of miles, but they have 1,800 to 2,000 segments in the city of Waukesha that they used Ayers and Associates to rate. The reason that they used them was because they just don't have enough manpower to go over 2,000 segments. And their cost was $16,000 last year. So that comes out to about $8 per segment. According to our Whistler report right now, we have 212 segments. Based on our quote of $4,600, that comes out to about $22 per segment.
Do we know what segments are, Linda?
Yes, we do.
I mean, on ours-
So a segment would be
On our road map.
from, on Country View, you're getting on at County P, you're going north to
It's off the
Clark
road.
Lake or whatever. It's a
Right.
section, from
Right.
intersection to intersection. Or for instance, on Old OR, we did a portion of that, so that was divided into a segment. So
Right.
those are segments.
No,
And when Mr. Deppies was here again a couple months ago, I was shocked when he said, oh, the DOT doesn't really look at that. I beg to differ with him because the DOT, if we don't submit them, it does affect our general transportation aids. Anyway, enough of that. I believe our current practice of going on our annual ride, that is, I think, the board's job to know what these roads look like. This engineer from Waukesha actually rode along on a few of the rides with Ayers and Associates. And we pay dues to Bay Lake Regional Planning Commission to the tune of $4,000 a year. They will come and rate our roads. That's included in our annual membership. Mr. Hain, also a couple meetings ago, said that we do have several engineers that live in our town, or at least in Door County. And one of these engineers actually laid out Bluff Court, where I live. And our snow plowing budget is probably already blown. We haven't even gotten the bill for December, I'm guessing, but
no, we do. I can tell you. up to
I
the
just,
time.
I don't see we're spending an additional $4,600 at this point is justified. Bay Lake Regional Planning, they would do it now if we asked them to, but they said they usually wait until the fall after we have done whatever work we anticipated. Now, if you look at our
That doesn't.
our spreadsheet from last spring, when we evaluated,
Right.
we've pretty much identified the roads that we would like to do this year that didn't get done last year due to money. So that's my $4,600.00 worth, I guess. I just don't see it's justified.
I agree with Mrs. Waite. We pay to regional, Bay Lake Regional, and they come out and do the Whistler program, and, you know, if we have to do it again in the spring, we can do it in the spring, they can do it in the fall, and then we would have a good update to start from there, but I can't see spending the money for this guy when we already paid dues to somebody that would do it for us.
And you could have Bay Lakes do it for free or included with our, you know, our dues. And if you're not happy with it, all right, then bring it back next year or have Ayers take a look at it this fall if you think the money's justified.
You comment? Henry?
I understand your concern, and as I understand it, do we we're planning on spending considerably more this year for road maintenance
$275,000.
than we did last year. And I know that we were, unfortunately, we couldn't get to the entire construction plan last year because of a number of issues, none of which were within our control. So you're pretty satisfied then that we've identified the road construction that we want to do this year. It's a carryover of last year, and we've got the, and it will, we will then, and we've got the money set aside for it. That's a
Well,
question.
On our worksheet from last year, we had identified 5 areas. We completed Nelson Lane, slightly over a mile. We completed Peterson Road, a half a mile, and that cost us $127,000. We had budgeted $200,000. We did not complete West Shore because I think there were some,
Oh, it's strictly
weather
weather
or-
and construction of underground power.
okay. So that's why we fell so far below our estimated 197 or 200,000.
Now, have-
So we identified Whitefish Bay from Bluff Court to HH. We identified Clark Lake Road. That's been on our radar for, I think, about 3 or 4 years already. and that's a mile's worth, so there's almost 200,000 right there. Yeah.
Here's my concern, and I voiced it previously. I think that we're going to be spending an enormous amount of money on roads. And if we're lucky, we're going to, hopefully, we'll be able to spend significantly more than we have spent in past years. I think we could, if we were to stay even with the curve, I think we would be spending close to $350,000 to $400,000 a year on roads. If you look at how quickly those roads, existing roads, have been amortized. I mean, in some cases, we're not even, in terms of new construction, we're not even keeping up with past, with the amortizable costs that flow through our books, and some of those costs are 20 years old. The whole point of this is, I went through the PACER system, and I know that you're supposed to place these roads in 10 different categories. I don't think that if we put a piece of paper in front of us and said, okay, what's the difference between category 2 and category 3? I'm not sure we'd be able to do it. I think qualitatively, we can see roads and say, okay, this road is in decent shape, or this road is about, I mean, if we don't do something, we're going to lose the road altogether. I just think that there is a benefit in having a third party do a comprehensive evaluation of the roads. I was a little disappointed that AIRS did not give us an all-in cost on what it would take on the additional cost of building a 5-year plan around what they had done. And I gather that we might, for an extra $1,200, we might be able to get there. I don't know how qualified the folks at Bay Lakes Regional Planning are. I don't know, are they a degree, are they degreed professional engineers?
So in that case, we don't know how qualified heirs are either.
That's a good point. I'm assuming that they're
Civil engineers.
They're civil engineers.
Okay.
So I'm a little uncomfortable with this. I think that the idea of going forth makes a lot of sense. I think that we should be able to categorize, irrespective of what PACER says, we ought to be able to categorize the roads in 5 or 6 buckets. And we know, and as I've been told, which I've never appreciated, is that if you catch a road at a right time, you can save that road for, you can significantly prolong the life of that road for a relatively modest expenditure, whereas if you let it go for 2 or 3 more years, the cost becomes significant. And I want to identify those roads and put them in a 5-year plan. Now, the fact is that we've got probably a tie vote, so I guess that I just want to underscore the fact that I think we need to do this. And maybe we ought to have the folks from the Bay Lakes talk to us and explain to them what are their qualifications, and how often have they done this, so that we can compare and contrast. So we're
I'm
comparing
sure they would
apples
be
to
more than
apples.
happy to do that.
Yeah, they have a bank out, they have a staff of engineers.
Yeah.
Just like any other engineering firm. They've probably done more ratings, more Whistler ratings than Aries has done, because he admitted that this was something fairly new, that they were reaching out to the municipalities. Either way, it's a visual. He said it was a visual. It's a drive-by, if you want to call it that. So,
Well, I
I
need to
don't
throw
know.
2 cents in, even though it's going to probably be a tie vote, so I'm going to convince one of you with, maybe a candy bar or something to switch. I think I was the one that started this whole thing, and I did it as a one-time shot to get an independent assessment of roads. I contacted numerous people, including our own county commissioner here, John, to try and establish who would be a good resource so that we could take all of the stuff that we go through when we drive through out of the discussion, and someone would come back and say, here's where I really see your roads at. Now, to the point that I wanted a 5-year plan, he asked me to give him a 5-year budget, which unfortunately I couldn't do. but they would want to create a comprehensive plan based on what they would think our budget would be, so they could bake it in. Because I really would like to have had them come back to me and said, and do this. And, you know, I've looked at Forest Road, and here's what I think. I think you need to crack fill it immediately, and you can save that road. Or it needs to be chip and sealed. And oh, by the way, I know that there are many people in our town that don't like chip seal. I'm not a huge fan of it either. But when we look at the investments that we have to make, we're gonna have to make those decisions to make those specific investments, whether people are in love with us or not, simply because that's the only way we're gonna stretch the dollar. I'm discouraged by the fact that Bay Lake wouldn't even do it to the fall, because regardless of who we would choose, I would want it done this spring to get put a stake in the ground and move forward. So I think we benefit from that, and after just as I mentioned earlier, if they did this, I would turn around and get in the car and take the top 10 or 20 roads and go out as a group and try and understand why we rate them one way, where they rate them, and what we need to do. And we don't have a lot of time, because once we get too far out here, we're talking July, and trying to get on the county or somebody's schedule, whomever that might be.
Well, exactly as Supervisor Waite said, we already got roads identified for this year. So
Well, the question is,
we could give
I
Bay
agree.
Lake Regional
What's
a
the
chance,
rush?
and we're already paying them, where we don't have to come up with the money.
With the only caveat, John, being is, I don't know whether Ayers has had lots of experience or not. They're civil engineers. I don't know that Bay Lake is. I guess I would like to know the qualification. They may have done, you know, tons. So, you know, that's my 2 cents.
Ayers is an internationally recognized engineering company. I mean, they've got terrific bona fides. They're well regarded. I'm assuming that, I'm just assuming that they've got people who are capable of doing this. I think that the $4,500 is calculated. It's 0.02% of a $2 million spend over 5 years. I mean, it's very modest, if it gives us what we want,
Right.
which is a clear idea of what we need to, a priority of roads going off into the future. But, and I will acknowledge, they're not the only people in town to do it. But before we seriously consider Bay Lakes, I think we need to clearly understand their capability in the area.
Okay, we can get them out here.
Okay, so do you want me to carry this over to the next month and we'll have Bay Lake come?
Yes.
Well, I'm ready to make a decision. I don't know about you.
Well, it's gonna go to-
You're ready to make a decision?
Wow.
Shock me with your opinion.
What did the engineer from Aris say? We can do this. What do you think the engineer from Bay Lake is gonna say?
Well, exactly.
We can do
Well,
this.
I'd like to know.
We can do it better,
I
or
would like to
we're
know
gonna do it
if
worse.
Bay Lake is an engineer. That would be a starting point.
I'm sure they're qualified
When
individuals.
I first reached out to him, I'm not gonna quote him, but he said we have engineers on staff for that.
Okay.
That's my recollection. Don't quote me, that's my recollection.
I do think we need to do a nominal amount of due diligence to satisfy ourselves that they're capable of doing this. So I'd put it on, I'd recommend we put it on for next month, unless we think that a month's delay is going to cause us to lose our position in addressing some of the backlog of roads that we were going to get to last year. I don't know, it's a question.
I just guess,
Okay.
I mean, if you look at the rating manual, there's photographs. If your road looks like this, it's a 6. I think I have confidence, at least in myself, that I know what this road should be rated. And then whoever we decide to do the work, be it the county or Northeast Asphalt, they always give us a recommendation. Whether it should be, 2.5-inch overlay or total
Right.
pulverize and start from scratch. I mean, they always give us a recommendation. I know.
Yeah, I think it's a waste of money.
Well, what do you want me to do?
I'll make a motion to go with Bay Lake Regional Planning.
I'll second that motion.
My question is when?
Oh, yeah, when? Okay, this I will, this is what Brandon told me from Bay Lake. He said they normally do it in late summer/fall after the season's work is done. But if we want it sooner, that is up to us. So I'm not gonna make any promises that if we go with Bay Lake, they're gonna be up here next week. I don't know what their time frame is. He did not give me a time frame. If that makes any difference to your motion.
No.
Uh,
Well, we could see if we could have it done as soon as possible.
I would say that timing and qualifications would be the two caveats that I would want.
Well, there's a motion on the floor, we gotta vote on that motion,
You know,
so.
but we're in discussion mode yet. So I'm saying in
Yeah,
discussion mode
right.
that timing and qualifications would be assuming. I don't think it's going to benefit us to do it in the fall, regardless of who we do. I think we want to get it done as soon as feasible, and I would like the assurance that even if it's free, sometimes, I'd like to know the qualification, and that can be a 2-minute phone call.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Maybe that motion is premature. So if we're going to have our road tour, we can do our road tour whenever. Actually, it would be quite interesting if we did our road tour, made our ratings, and then whoever we choose, Bay Lake or Aris, okay, compare. This is what we came up with, this is what they come up with. And then you're not losing any time as far as, putting it out for RFP or bid or estimate or whatever.
Okay.
That's the thought.
That's true.
And in the meantime, I could call Bay Lake and say, okay, we're interested in, or we're possibly interested in having you do it. What is your time frame? Is there a chance that you could send one of your engineers up here to meet with us ahead of time?
Or join us in the car.
Yeah,
Okay.
or join us in the car, okay? I can ask that.
Okay, then I'll take back my motion.
I rescind my second.
I'll rescind my first.
Okay, so I will bring it back next month, based on all of that good stuff.
So you
All right.
want a time frame,
Timeframe and
criteria, timing, qualifications?
Qualification.
Okay.
All right. good.
References,
Did we get all that from Ayers too?
Yeah, Ayers would tackle it in,
No, did we get the time frame
yeah,
and the qualifications?
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll move that back on to the next month, subject to what Linda discovers. Okay, next thing is fire protection update. In your packet was a fire protection service agreement extension. Worked through the city and our fire insurance contract, not insurance, our fire protection plan, I had an extension granted through 2020 with a 2% annual increase through that year. And that has gone through the city council and has their approval, fire chief and everyone else involved in that. And the objective would be long-term, to negotiate a long-term fire agreement that will take us through the next whatever number of years and give us an opportunity to do that as the current one expires at the end of 2019. So you've had a chance to read it. I think you know we're trying to go with it. I have it here for your approval, and so I can sign it and get it back to the city, and we can move on to other things. So is there Would you have a thought? Go ahead.
Okay, so we budgeted $349,040 for 2019. Maybe Kaylin can jump in here. So 2% increase on top of that would be 6,980. So let's just round it off to 7,000.
Okay.
So, okay, so 356,000 roughly would be the 2% increase.
Yep,
And that would be for 2020.
correct.
Is there a question in there?
No, I don't have a
We
question.
don't have a question?
I was waiting for-
Jim, would you like to make a motion?
Well, I do, although I have a comment.
Oh, God.
I think this is a very good idea. I think that, because I think this gives us the opportunity of fully assessing how we want to handle our fire services. We have a statutory obligation. We have an agreement in place right now. It meets certain standards. It gives us the opportunity to look outside the box to see if there are other alternatives. We have an arrangement that has clear deliverables that year on year the fire department seems to have made good on, but it gives us an opportunity to evaluate in a larger context. And I think we'll need the year and a half to do this as we talk to all of the parties that we need to talk about to satisfy ourselves as to the wisdom of making a long-term commitment, because I think a long-term commitment makes sense. I'm in favor of if in order to get to that point where we have the time to be able to look searchingly at the alternatives, I think buying an extra year is worth the insurance.
Is that a motion?
It is a motion. So I
A
move
motion.
that- I move the approval of the Fire Protection Services Agreement as presented to us, which extends the contract with the city of Sturgeon Bay until the end of 2020.
I'll second.
2000, yes,
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion on the floor,
Yeah.
an actual motion from Jim, seconded by John, to approve the 2020 Fire Protection Service Agreement. Any further discussion before we take a little vote?
No.
All right. Can't be a 2-2 vote, you know. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes, thank you. Amy, I gotta stop and sign it. Okay. Website upgrade. This was a note that I sent to you on the 23rd of February regarding our website. And basically, my recommendation to you was, we weren't getting anywhere where we needed to be in a time frame we could live with. And my recommendation is that we do the simple upgrade with our existing website provider. And as part of that, it will enhance our ability to do a number of things that we can't do today. One is to distribute more information out to anybody that's interested, to do surveys on site, to just do a myriad of things. They're all detailed in all the pre-read. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. What I would need is a motion to agree to that, unless you have a question.
Did you state a term? Did you have a term in mind?
The upgrade is just a one-time expense, and then we would stay with it.
Oh,
So, you know, it's almost more informational, because I mean, I think it's, what, under $1,000. And we put $1,500 in the budget, so we're more than covered in that regard,
And,
so.
I mean, we've talked to
Right.
the vendor
Yep.
that's been approved by the Wisconsin Towns Association. The cost, if we were to go down that path, would be several $1,000s, and we still don't have a beta. We still don't have anything we can look at. The chairman we were able to talk to yet another provider, and that entity would also charge us several $1,000s for a new website. And we had a very difficult time figuring out exactly the advantage that accrues from going down either path. So I think the idea of making the updates to what we've got now, which will give us a lot more flexibility than we have now. makes sense.
So, you have a question?
No.
Oh,
The Door County Coastal Byway has an upgraded website, and I do update that website, work on it, and at first, it took me a while to get used to it, but once I learned this new version, I really like it. And if you look at the town of Egg Harbor, I believe they have the most recent upgrade. If you look at Dustin's sample in here, I especially like the feature of being able to embed the YouTube. So if I'm looking at April 16th board meeting, I can just click on the YouTube and go right to that. So,
it'll give us the ability to also post agendas and things like that, like they do in Jacksonport,
Yep.
where the townsperson can get a notification about anything that's coming up and then go and retrieve it. So, did you want to make the motion then, Linda, to go ahead with
do
this?
we have a cost? What was it?
500,
Okay,
less than
flat
1,000.
500.
Something.
So I will make a motion to proceed with our Town of Sevastopol website upgrade with town web design or townweb.com with Dustin Overbeck.
All right, we have a motion from Linda. Do we have a second?
Do we want to put a limit on that?
At the cost of $500?
I
At a
think
cost
he's,
not to exceed?
Or
I want to, let's just say less than 1,000. I think it was 500, and I don't know that I have that with me. Just so we
at a
don't.
cost not to exceed $1,000?
There you go.
Does that sound right, Amy?
Yep,
Yep.
Okay.
all right. Motion by Linda, second by
I second it.
Jim. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, we'll take care of that. Would you let them know, Amy?
I will.
Thank you. All right, under new business, we have hopefully a couple quickies here. We have a Institute Bellamy Athletic Club seasonal Class B license. You want to take that in the next one there, Amy?
Sure. The Institute Cubs made application for their yearly beer license for the park. So they've paid their half the year dues for the ball field, and then they did pay for the license. So everything is up to date. It's just up for your approval.
All right.
I will move to approve the seasonal 6-month license to the Institute and Bellamy Athletic Club for the period May 1st, 2019, ending October 31st, 2019.
Could I second one?
No, I'll
Okay.
second that.
All right, you go ahead. Motion by Linda, second by John to approve the Institute Bellamy Athletic Club seasonal Class B license. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you. Parallel 44, Amy, you want to touch on that one? I think
Yes, so Parallel 44 plans to move their business from the corridor of 4257 to their new location on County Road P. They plan to open about or around May 1st. So this is just a systematic of changing the address on the license. There was a $10 fee involved.
So it's an FYI, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, good. That takes care of that. Let's hold on the road work tour date. Door County Coastal Byways renewal, Linda?
I think we've pretty much explained that in our annual meeting.
Yep.
It's up for a 10-year renewal. This is a resolution supporting that renewal process. I don't know if costs will change or if dues will change, but this is our support for the renewal process for another 10 years.
Okay. You want to make a motion that we just
Sure, I
renew?
will move a motion to adopt resolution number 01-2019 TB, supporting Door County Coastal Byway designation for a 10-year, additional 10-year period.
Okay, motion by Linda, second by
I second the motion.
Jim. We've pretty much covered this one, so all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried, we'll take care of that, thank you. I'm gonna pick off a couple of these easy ones and then go to the last one. County P, speed limit, Linda?
Yes, one of our residents that live on County P, I actually invited him to the meeting tonight, but I guess he couldn't make it, suggested a reduction in the speed limit coming down the hill from Country View intersection with County P, heading easterly towards Institute. If you look at those arteries coming in and around Institute from the west and the south and the north, they're all at 35 miles per hour. And you'll see, I reached out to our Highway Commissioner, John Kaloji, and he also agreed that a reduction in the speed limit would certainly fit that site. It would have to go for approval to the Door County Highway Committee. So this, any action we take would be advisory in support or non-support of that request. I think it's a good idea. There is a hill there, lots of traffic, kids heading to school.
Doesn't our clerk treasurer live on that road?
Yes, I do.
Maybe.
And people do go fast.
They do?
They do.
All right. Do you want to, would you like just to send a note, or you want us
Yes,
to?
I would like to make a motion that we send a letter of support for the reduction in the speed limit on County P from Country View Road to Highway 57. Here's a handout.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion on the floor from Linda, second by John. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Okay. Let's go back here. Sorry, gentlemen, about the long delay. There's a quick piece of history here, and we're going to try and choose someone now to replace our current building inspector. We unexpectedly received a letter from Safe Built, the company that had represented and done this for the town, giving us 30 days notice that they were terminating the contract with us as well as other municipalities in Door County. And essentially since I believe the 12th of April, we were without a building inspector or someone in that capacity. So over the course of a few weeks, we got word from the current building inspector, not Safe Built, but Brett Timmy, who worked for them, that he was going to start his own company. And so he is here tonight to represent his company, which would like to act as a provider of services to the county, or to the town, excuse me. And also during this time, we received a bid from E-Service out of Egg Harbor, and Dave is way in the back, so he's here tonight. And we also received a third bid from Brett Gillett, and all of these came in, and they came in, the last two obviously came in last minute. You know, they were in the Dropbox for your access. What did I want to say? I lost my train of thought. Anyway, I know what I was going to say. This is a services contract. It is not an equipment. It is not anything that needs to be bid. It's strictly our call in terms of where we go with this. So it doesn't have to go through any unusual process. It also happens to be a revenue-generating contract, not that we obtain millions of dollars from it, but we receive a partial payment, basically 10% of the fee comes back to the town. So with that, you have had a chance to take a look at them, and I guess what I'd like to do is if you have questions, ask them, and we can ask them of Dave. Brett's not here, right?
No.
No. And Dave and Brett are here, Brett Timmy, excuse me, not Brett Gillett. So if you have particular questions of them about their bids, we'll discuss them, and at the end of that, hopefully we'll reach some conclusion, which we will then give someone the job of representing us with building inspection. So.
Let me just offer up a general thought about this at the risk of alienating everyone in the room who wants to get home. We didn't see this coming. We got a letter out of the color blue from our existing building inspection company saying that they were going to unilaterally giving us the requisite notice, which was nominal, which was minimal at best, leaving us to our own devices. We went back to them and asked them if we could get, they would give us an additional grace period of 90 days. They essentially said no. They weren't prepared to do that. We have to have a code inspector available for townspeople who are building and need their premises or their project inspected. We got a proposal in from Brad Timmy and his group, and I read it. It's a lengthy agreement, and I reviewed it, and I don't profess to offer up a legal opinion, but there were provisions in there that I thought were perhaps overstated. And my question is, notwithstanding the fact that we know Brad and that we know of his capabilities, and we've worked closely with one another in your capacity as an employee of the company that decided to terminate the relationship, I'm hoping that we could get a 90-day short-term arrangement so that we can, as a board, notwithstanding the fact that we may not have to go through a formal process, we could compare and contrast the alternatives available to us so we aren't making this up on the fly. I think that there would be a certain amount of goodwill that would accrue to someone who would be willing to grant us that 90 days to get us through this initial period so we could make a more reasoned and deliberate decision as to among the three. And I put it to the two representatives here whether we could get a short form agreement that says you will provide code inspection services, building inspection services. I have to go through, I'm stepping over your prerogatives, Mr. Chairman, but for 90 days so that at least we can compare and contrast what we're being offered. That's my 2 cents worth.
Sounds feasible.
Comments?
Sounds very feasible, if we can get anybody to agree.
Are you asking the applicants? Okay. Personally, yes, I'd be willing to do that. I assisted a number of municipalities last year when their inspectors had changed or work had exceeded the availability of their times. 90 days is a reasonable time. I recognize. I used to work for Sevastopol myself. I was your commercial electrical inspector for many years. You were not the only ones thrown out at this sudden change in direction.
I'd be curious to know what Brad's view is because Brett, I'm sorry, Brett's.
I mean, I would be agreeable to a 90 days, so what you're saying is that you would pick one of the three and to provide services for you so that you can then evaluate between the contracts within that 90-day period and then either make a permanent decision on the person that you selected for the 90-day period or change that.
What we want to do is, that's a fair question. Evaluate the proposals that are made to us. I understand that we did get what's the term? We did get your schedule of fees, and I understand in some cases they went up, some cases they went down in comparison. And you wanted a uniform fee schedule throughout the county. I know that Dave has also provided us with something similar, highlighting the differentials, and then to get so that we can carry out our responsibilities to be able, in a more deliberate fashion, review the proposals that have been made to us, so that we aren't doing this at 9 o'clock at night. And I know you don't mean this literally, but at the point of a gun.
Do we need 90 days? Do we need to have 3 agencies hanging out there for 90 days? That's a question.
That's a good question.
I don't know.
John, you got a comment?
Not right now.
First off, to Jim's question, a couple of different things. One is, and nothing to do with Dave, I wouldn't change horses in midstream for a 90-day contract. If that's the way we go, I wouldn't want to introduce somebody for 90 days that may or may not be extension. So I would not offer that to Dave or to Brett Gillett. If we did that choice, it would go to Brett Timmy to keep consistency at least until whatever point in time some other decision was made. I think there are some questions here, Brett, that come up about a couple different things, like the term of the contract, things like non-compete clauses. There are, maybe a half dozen things that perhaps don't sit as well with us as they might, had we not just had the unfortunate experience with Safe Built. Not that I think we're going to be left in the lurch, but just so you understand the background behind it.
I think non-compete clauses have always been in your contract agreements. They're within every municipality's agreement
Right.
through Safe Built and independent inspections for the last 18, 19 years. So it's not an unusual clause to have in
No,
a contract.
I'm not disagreeing. I'm swallowing the bitter pill of what happened. So there's some of those things that are left in there. To Linda's point, I don't know that we need 90 days.
Could we ask that?
Ask whom?
Could we ask David and
Oh, sure.
Brett? Is 30 days too short for us to, I don't know if we need a closed session because we are talking about, services, even though no revenues, or no expenditures involved. We do have different fee schedules. Like one contract says we can't terminate until after 1 year. So all 3
There's
contracts.
inconsistencies
Right.
between them, right?
So is 30 days too short?
I don't think,
I don't think 30 days is too short.
a little lot on your plate short term, but I don't care.
I prefer the 60 days, just in case, people go on vacation.
It's fine.
I guess my misunderstanding was several municipalities I helped last year was due to the loss of their building inspector. And during the window in time of them finding their building inspector, I assisted them in their services. And I guess that's the impression I got, what your intent was looking for, being that you have effectively, was it the 12th that you've lost your agency? Is that what you were saying? It's kind of a small window of time for you to truly understand what you're looking for options out there. And I was under the impression you were looking for somebody to provide the services for a window of time to give you that time to truly understand the choices that are available. I don't have a problem with providing that window of time as well.
I appreciate that. I'm in your camp. Because we have an ongoing relationship, and people know who to call, I think if we were to go, if
I don't want to change horses in midstream, so if you want to change the timeline, so 60 days, if Brett's agreeable with that, I'm fine with that.
No more than 60 days?
Yeah, I mean, it's up to, we have to take it apart and figure out what's up. And we're gonna, we still have other things that are gonna evolve here, so. Brett, would you be agreeable to 60-day interim, at which time we'll try and figure out where these contracts come together and where they differ?
Sure. John brings up a point that, so during a month or 60-day period, you've got an inspection agency that issued permits. Those permits are good for 2 years. So now you've got an inspector who you basically just have do 30 days of inspections, but yet he's on the hook for 2 years of permits that might drag out. if a homeowner's building a house and it takes them 2 years, now they're having to serve, you know, a handful of permits for your community, which I'm just bringing that up as a.
Well, that's good information. I mean, I don't know that much, you know. I don't want to complicate this thing any more than necessary, and as far as I have a whole nother spin of this, but, tell us
I
where
don't
you,
know. I think
I mean, I'll make this,
60 days is,
except for
middle.
what he added now, kind of makes that maybe not viable.
yeah, but he was on the, were you on the hook for any at Safe Built too?
No.
I mean,
Oh, sure, everything that's.
Well, Safe Built.
Yeah.
Issued is,
so you issued them
Out
from
there.
Safe Built from the town of Sevastopol, so you're on the hook for all of them anyhow, so
Right.
what's another 30, 60 days? Right?
for me, not
There you
not
go.
an issue.
I'm
Go
looking
ahead.
at the notice of termination from Safe Build, and perhaps Mr. Kinney can clarify for us. It says,
I have a hard copy here.
this is from Safe Build. I'm very disappointed in Safe Build. I mean, they came in here a couple years ago, bought up independent inspections,
There's the hard copy.
and now just left us out in the cold. I'm very disappointed. But anyway, it says, all structures that have been permitted, a fee collected, and not yet expired at the time of termination, and this letter is dated March 13th, shall be completed through final inspection by consultant at the agreed rate, if approved by the municipality. Who is the consultant?
That's safe though.
Are you satisfied Safe Build is aware of its contractual obligations?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, so Safe Built has had contracts with some municipalities for a 30-day notice, and I think town of Sevastopol, that probably was put in by your town board at some point, because most other municipalities have a 60 or 90 days. We've got 3 or 4 municipalities that have had a 90-day termination contract. Safe Built has in those contracts that they will, after those contracts terminate, then there's a 90-day period after that that they will continue to provide inspection services to, they can't issue permits, but they'll be doing the inspections on those. At that point, if there's any leftover, whatever projects are still open, they will determine what inspections have been done on those remaining projects and come up with a monetary payback to the municipality that then can be used to the next inspection agency to pay that inspector to finish those inspections.
Well, does that paragraph tell us that we're actually good on issued permits for 90 days?
I would have to read it again, but for most
I can see
municipalities,
that they're in there.
Safe Built's gonna be doing inspections into August and September.
All right, what do we want to do? He's agreed, no questions. He's agreed to do a 60-day contract, or we make a decision tonight regardless.
That's
with the vendor.
I'm in favor of giving us at least the opportunity of looking at this with fresh eyes and not under the gun. And I understand that you were probably caught by surprise along with everyone else, and that people had to scramble even to put together a proposal that you made to us. But I still think we ought to take the 60 days if you're willing to enter into a short form agreement, and that will give us, that is this board, the opportunity within that period of time to decide how it wishes to proceed in terms of contracting for building code services.
Sure. I mean, you know, I've had my contract with you for over 2 weeks. If there were any questions that you have, you had some time to at least come to me to ask questions or to clarify certain things. The fact that you've gotten 2 other contracts at the last minute and haven't had a chance to review those, you know, I guess that's really your position, not my position to be in, and I do understand your position. But, you know, if other agencies then should have been notified earlier that, you know, you were in a critical state, having been notified 30 days ago.
I'm in your court. But, you know, unfortunately, you know, the things that come under the contract that I reviewed from you, I think are minor things that are not showstoppers. But the board received the competing proposals on Monday morning, which I don't know what time they got them or what was up, but they did not have an opportunity. Now, you could take the position that, I'm sorry to say, we're not going to review those other 2 and just assign it. I understand that feeling 100%. But I believe that it's probably the right course of action to give us a little time, get our hands around it, and make the right decision. So if you're agreeable to the 60 days, then my recommendation is that we would move ahead for that. We'll try and do this as quickly as possible to get it off our plate and resolve it for you or for whomever, but I mean, you know, so they're not dangling out there. So,
Do we even need a motion?
go ahead.
Could we say that, I mean, once we do make a decision, that temporary contract is out the door? I mean,
Right.
if we
Oh,
make
yeah.
a decision, it would be effective as soon as convenient for,
Right.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, if I could do it next week, Thursday, get it all done
Yep.
and make a decision, I would. I mean, as soon as we can
If we
get our
enter,
arms around it.
yeah, if we enter an agreement, it would supersede the short-term agreement and probably relate back, I would assume, if you're, you know, if you desire that, relate back to the termination of the relationship with Safeco,
So,
or Safe, what is it?
okay.
safe built.
Safeco.
Could we say no longer than 60 days or something?
Right.
I don't know.
Let's make it nice and easy and simple. We'll reach a 60-day contract.
Yeah, the motion I would make is that we move that we authorize the chairman to enter into a short-term agreement with
Door County Inspections.
Door County Inspections, not to exceed 60 days, in order to enable the town to make a deliberate decision as to as to our successor building inspector is. It's not as artful as I'd like to see it, but it's also getting late in the evening.
I will second that motion.
I'm going to ask if Amy's got it.
Okay.
I'll get it.
All right, motion by Jim, second by Linda. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen, sorry for the lateness. We'll try and resolve it as quickly as we can schedule it. Okay. What's here? Okay, cable committee responsibilities change. Had a couple conversations with different people about the PEG channel cable committee and think it's probably time to modify the name of that committee and at the same time to change and add to the responsibilities. And so I'm suggesting it become the Communications and Technology Committee. And in addition to the existing areas of responsibility, we would add things like the newsletter, the website, the technology aspects that relate to it, how we use it, and future additions, and also add potential AV, some kind of AV support that we might do with the town or whatever alternative we come up with. Nothing beyond that, but I think it more closely addresses our needs and also expands the area of interest in the areas that we need somebody to cover. So if no one has any objections to that, I'll make that change.
Sounds good to me.
Okay, the next item is the process for backfilling the board vacancy. And just to recap, the three options that exist is we leave the position open. We do not backfill it at all. We call a new election, which would be by June 1st of next year. Or through appointment, we basically hire or agree, take a replacement person to backfill the position. So all I need here is either discussion or and/or motion or agreement that we're going to do A, B, or C. So my recommendation is that we would do an appointment so that we get ourselves out of a 4-4 or a 2-2 board decision. It makes more sense, but whatever you'd like to do is what we'll try to do.
I'll make a motion that we make an appointment. Appoint somebody to the position.
Is there a second?
I second.
Okay. Motion by John, second by Jim.
Could we discuss the process a little
We
bit?
can?
So if the board is going to appoint someone to fill the vacancy for the term ending April of 2021, then it would be submit letters of intent. If you're interested, so is that the process we're going to follow?
Yes, it is. I have somewhere in my many piles of things. Would you take it off my desk? Okay.
No.
In anticipating that we would be appointing someone to fill the term, we have a draft ad that will be placed in the Door County Advocate, and it will simply say, I'll read it to you in case there's any questions. It says, and it could be modified one way or the other a little. Letters of interest are being sought to fulfill an unexpired term on the town board ending on 4/20 of '21. Persons of interest shall be full-time resident of the municipality. Letters should explain the applicant's qualifications and ideally should also discuss key issues facing the municipality and explain the applicant's philosophy on governance. Letters must be received by 5 p.m. on April 26th. The interview and selection process will occur on Saturday, April 27th. Letters can be sent to the town of Sevastopol. You might get a word tweaked here or there, but that's basically it. We'll run that in the paper on the 20th and the 24th, and we will schedule interviews for Saturday morning, the 26th.
27.
I'm sorry, did I miss something?
No, could I say, you said the Advocate, but I think the Pulse would probably be worthwhile as well, the Minnesota Pulse.
We can do both.
I can do both.
Or people see it in the Pulse.
I think it makes sense for us to seek to fill the position. It shouldn't remain empty for 2 years. I think that in light of concerns voiced by people within the community, I think it's imperative that we adhere scrupulously to state statutes, and that in that regard, even in connection with the language of this, which seems fine to me, I think we ought to ask council to take a look at it and satisfy himself that we are setting out, that the process that we are envisioning passes scrutiny under state law.
Geez, too bad he didn't stick around.
Yeah.
All right, so,
Could we just have our clerk email it
yeah,
to Attorney Nesbitt? And
You want me to email this?
yeah,
Okay.
if you would. I'm sorry, in the process here, I forgot who made what motion. Jim, did you make the motion? And the second was,
I think I seconded it.
pardon me?
Stavinus made the
Thank
motion.
you.
Nellen
Oh, no, I made
seconded.
the motion.
You made the motion, Nellen second.
Well,
All right.
the motion is really that we are going to proceed to fill the
Fill the
position.
position.
Correct.
In accordance with state law.
Correct.
we don't-
All right, we've had discussion. We've got everything. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, move on. Thank you. All right. financial report, so we're actually down to the other part. So we have the financial reports for February and March. All right, you have those in your packet, the balances, budget versus actual, and you have the transaction listing for those 2 months, right? Okay. So a motion would be in order to accept those.
I would ask one question.
Please do.
I asked Amy earlier, we incurred, got billed by the county for $60,000 for snow removal for the month of January through the middle of the month of February, which I'm sure no one expected to see.
We spent 75,000 of our 110 already.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we need another snow. Okay. Motion to
I'll
accept.
move to accept the financial reports and place on file the financial reports for February and March 2019.
I'll second it.
Motion by Linda, second by John, to accept the financial reports for February and March of 2019. Any discussion?
No.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Treasurer's report, Amy?
The town has received their second quarter for general transportation aids. The county has settled up with us for our lottery credit that was due. We are at 67% of the budgeted amount of $110,000 for snow removal. That amount reflects work done through the 9th of February. We have made our donation to the Door County Humane Society last month, and they had a promotion going on. Our donation was matched, so our $2,000 became $4,000.
Oh, that was great timing.
And we are at 70% of our interest earned in our income category already, so we seem to be investing our money wisely at the highest rate of return.
All right, good, thank you. Next item would be approval of vouchers, bills, and claims for February.
I'll make a motion to approve the vouchers, bills, and claims for February 18th, 2019 through April 16th, 2019.
Motion by John, second by
I seconded.
Jim. Sorry if I missed that. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. If there's anybody who wants to make an oral commission report, let's save it for next month.
Good.
All right. Okay, lists, license, and permits. You have the recaps in your folder for February and March for building permits. I don't think there's anything too interesting there. Amy, can you just take a minute and tell us of the Door County Children of Hope Class B liquor temporary picnic license?
Yep, Ryan Zottler applied for an application for a Class B temporary picnic license, wine only, for an event to take place at his house at 4258 Bayshore Drive on May 18th, 2019. And that's under a bona fide group called the Door County Children of Hope Incorporated. It was incorporated as of last year. Everything is paid. And so, go ahead.
Do we need it? Go ahead.
Are they aware that they need an operator, a licensed operator on their premises when
I
if
definitely
they
can
read the
make
back
them
of their
aware.
application, they should know that.
Yep.
Some groups don't.
Okay, so this is an FYI more than anything? Or do I have to, do we need a motion to approve this?
I have the authority to approve it,
Then
but
you've done
since
it.
we're here, you can.
No,
can,
you've done a great job. You may have a nice day.
Thanks.
Okay, correspondence. Oh, this is just a confirmation that the Land Use Services revised the wetland zoning that they had sent us a notice on. County clerk, she published that. And, oh, good news, the water that tastes so good here is still good to drink. So no problems. That's actually pretty good news. We have the fire report for January from the Sturgeon Bay Fire Department. I don't think there's anything else. Oh, and you have the month municipal report of those people that have taken out room tax permits. That's in your packet. That was issued in January. Everybody knows about the burning permits. We've had that on our website and called them. And Okay, that's all the correspondence, so we have a few announcements and that's it. We're gonna hold on the road inspection, try and figure out a date. We'll publish it as soon as we know. Board of Supervisors meeting Monday, May 20th at 7. Open book Friday, May 31st at 10 a.m. Board of Supervisors meeting Monday, June 17th at 7 p.m. And the Board of Review is Monday, June 24th at 1 p.m. So, I think the last thing to do would be to have a motion to adjourn.
You skipped over my county board.
Oh, hold it, I apologize.
I
I'm
will-
backing
I will
up.
forego county board report
Is there something?
due
in
to
there?
time.
I didn't mean to, I passed over. Is there any
No,
couple
I'll
of quickies?
I'll report next time on legislative days and a couple other items.
Okay, thank you, I'm sorry I missed that. It was an oversight. Okay, motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
I move that we adjourn.
John, Jim, motion, everybody. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned, thank you.